next is the author of the national best-selling memoir that is making a lot of women feel seen. Sarah Hoover was excited to welcome her baby into the world, but when her child was born, it was not all rainbows and butterflies. Like so many mothers, she struggled with postpartum depression and other issues that made her feel totally isolated.
Her book, The Motherload, Episodes from the Brink of Motherhood, was just released in paperback versions, and Sarah is here to talk all about it. Welcome to New York Living, Sarah.
Thanks for having me.
And you know, this book is really a candid story about your experience of becoming a mother, including your journey with PTSD, postpartum psychosis, and depression, such important topics. This book was initially released last year. What responses have you heard from other moms?
Thank you. It's been such an interesting ride. My book has been out for about a year, and I've been on book tour meeting with hundreds and hundreds of women. And I think the biggest surprise to me is that when I was going through this, I felt so much shame. I felt like such a bad version of a woman for not being a natural fit to motherhood, and such embarrassment about my mental health issues. And it turns out that so much of what I experienced is really universal. And every time I admit to my deepest shame to another woman, I find that we have a lot to connect about. And these experiences are really shared. So I found a lot of compassion and understanding among the hundreds of women that I've met.
So funny, because we just before the break, we did a whole segment about comparison and how comparison can be so toxic. And there's this idea that motherhood is supposed to be beautiful and magical, and it's all supposed to be rainbows and butterflies. And then when you get to that moment and you don't feel that way, you think there's something wrong with you because no one's been willing to have a dialogue about these challenges.
Exactly. You feel like such an outsider, you know? And a great shock to me was everyone had said to me, the minute your baby is born, it's going to be this explosion of love. It's like a hormonal fireworks show. You're going to fall so in love with your baby that the late night diaper changings and the staying up all night breastfeeding, it's going to feel like pure joy because you're going to be so in love with him. But guess what? When my baby was born and placed on my body and I took one look at him, I felt nothing inside. And I felt such incredible shame for myself that I had already failed as a mom. My maternal instincts hadn't kicked in, you know? And that's not a narrative that you hear a lot of the time. It's just not a story that's often told.
And that was my next question. Why do you think we don't talk, or it's not talked about enough, about postpartum depression and psychosis?
You know, I think the cultural narratives about motherhood that are impressed upon women are really ingrained. We all have this idea of motherhood being so natural for women and being the job that they should flourish at the most. And I think we've all gotten really used to those stories. So when you feel like an outlier to them, you don't think, oh, maybe there are other people that feel this way. And as we were saying, we were chatting about before the segment, up to 20% of women we know now experience postpartum depression. That's a lot of women. But the truth is almost too gruesome for people to handle in the face of all the narratives that have been taught to us our whole lives.
You know, my wife is the youngest of 8 kids.
Wow.
And so she had this sense that motherhood was just in her genes, right? It was in her family. And after our first child, she had a great experience. And after our second child, she really struggled. She really struggled. And she felt like she was going through it alone, like she was very isolated. And as you said, you used the word shame. I think that word would really resonate with her. She felt like, my mom did this with 8. What's wrong with me? Why can't I do it with 2? And conversations like you have in the book were life-changing for her to make her feel like she's not alone out there. Do you get that response from women, like, I thought it was just me?
Absolutely, I get it all day long. And you know, I had this really wild conversation with a woman who was in her 70s, who said to me, after the birth of my first child when I was 30, I did not connect with him. There was no one I could tell. I didn't go, this was 35 years ago, I didn't have a therapist. My friends didn't talk about this. I kept it to myself. Looking back, I had postpartum depression that I was never treated for, and I was never able to connect with that child, who's now an adult, and I could never connect with him. And I thought, that's simply unacceptable. Women shouldn't have to live this way. There is light at the end of the tunnel. I went on to have a second baby, who I adore, and I am in love with both of my kids. But you have to be able to say the hard part out loud to get to the healing.
Yeah, and those aspects need to be addressed. Now, your story is now being adapted into a TV series. Tell us, how did that happen?
A producer read my book and really liked it and brought it to 20th Century Fox, who bought it, and I'm writing the pilot myself now. And
wow.
I don't really know how to do that, but I'm learning along the way, and it's so fun and exciting, and I really hope that we get to see it on screen soon.
I love that. You're on a book tour. You're doing a lot of exciting things, including tonight at the 92nd Street Y. You're doing something that's very, very cool. I hope you'll tell folks about.
Well, I'm really looking forward to tonight at 7 p.m. at the 92nd Street Y here in New York City, speaking with Chelsea Clinton about my book and about maternal struggles and maternal mental health and best practices for women having kids. So there are still tickets, I think. Please come.
We're the warm-up act for Chelsea Clinton. That's pretty good. I will totally take that, because she's brilliant and she's super interesting as well.
Yeah. She's a really admirable woman and a mother of 3. So I'm so excited for tonight to get to speak with her.
I'm sure it's going to be full house. This is such an important topic, and I know a lot of moms out there could relate. So I'm sure I'll see on your social media a full house tonight.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. By the way, if you have not read the book, if you know a mom, if you're a mom, or if you just want to understand motherhood better, pick up a copy of the book, The Motherload, now, and catch her tonight. That conversation with Chelsea Clinton at the 92nd Street Y.